Hi, everyone, and welcome to a conversation with, this week, my guest is Dampy Brar. He is a hockey legend. He's a former professional hockey player and co-founder of APNA Hockey. And most recently, he is the winner of Willie O'Ree Community Award by the NHL, amongst several other awards that we are going to touch on. So welcome, Dampy Brar.
Thank you very much for having me, and I'm going to wish you the best of luck on your podcast and your future podcasts, and I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited about this. So you have been playing, I feel like you've been born with a hockey stick in your hand. Like you've been playing hockey your entire life, and you're originally from BC, and then you moved to Calgary, and did you start playing hockey in BC or?
Yep. Honestly, my parents were big fans of the WWE wrestling. So when they came to Canada, they went to different places. They went to different parts of BC. They settled in Sparwood, BC. And lucky for them and lucky for everybody, there were 65 families in Sparwood. There was about 25 East Indian families in Elkford, BC. Crowsnest Pass had about 15, 20 families, and Fernie had about 10. So in those four communities, there was a lot of East Indian people. And because there was 13 coal mines back there, so the major industry there was working coal mines. Doesn't matter if you're non-Indian or Indian or Italian or anybody. The basis of that industry in that area was coal mines and sawmill. And so lucky for my parents, again, there was like people there for quite some time. So they had older players that played hockey. So one of my good friends that taught me how to skate was 5 years older than me. Okay. And so he was in hockey. He was in his fifth year of hockey, and he's like, and so he was in hockey. So he would talk about hockey, and my parents were like, "No, we like that wrestling," and people were like, "It's fake," you know that, right? They're like, but I guess they like the storyline, and so when we're in Sparrow, we lived in these townhomes, and most of the East Indians were in those townhomes, and the kids would play hockey in the street. So they were older than me, so I would watch them. And then my mom and dad may have seen me watch them play and bought me this plastic hockey stick. I had a plastic puck. So I went in the basement. It didn't have any carpet or anything. So the puck flowed nicely on the concrete, and I had a milk crate, and I would just shoot at it. And I would kind of emulate what the kids were outside were doing. And I had a knack of commentating when I'm playing, and my English was really bad because my first language was Punjabi. So whatever language I was speaking and doing, I was doing. And so the interest of hockey grew. And then as a couple of families came up, he's like, our kid's a little older, you should put Dampy in hockey. And my dad was a sportsman back home in India. He played volleyball. There's a type of volleyball where it's not the bump set spike, it's the shooting, the Indian style. He was really, really good. And when I went to India last 3 times, they talked about how good my dad was. And not only in the village, but like the surrounding areas, that he was like a standout. And then people started getting jealous of him that he got asked to play on select teams. So my dad had that little sportsness in him. So when he put me in hockey, he kind of complied, right? He wasn't that, well, I've never done it before, so we'll see, right? But he was more like, yeah, let's put him in hockey. And like I said, having other people to rely on and to assist was awesome. And I started at the age of 5 learning to skate. One of my good friends, unfortunately, passed away at the age of 49 in January of this year. So he had some health issues, but I really credit him for taking me out skating. He told me I learned in like 5 or 6 minutes. And so my birthplace of hockey it was in Sparta, and that's where the start happened. So, and I haven't stopped since then. So from being in the basement to being this age at the age of 45 with my kids, playing hockey being part of hockey has been there every step of the way.
Which is amazing. Then you played in the International Hockey League, right? After moving to Alberta?
Mm-hmm. So I played a year of college in Edmonton, and I got scouted out of there, and I had a teammate whose dad was an agent. He's like, no, you shouldn't be playing here. You should be playing junior hockey. I'm like, well, my parents are typical Indian parents. They want me to go to school, and if hockey's part of it, then it's part of it. Yeah. But if it's not, it's not. And I played 3 years of junior hockey in BC. I played junior B when I was 16 and played junior A in Fernie, BC, which everybody knows, for 2 years. And then I
So
played
you were
college
away
hockey.
from home at this time, obviously?
Yeah. When I was playing junior B when I was 16, I was living at my house. Fernie is only 20 minutes away. In the wintertime, depends on the snow. It's only like 20, 25 minutes away. I played minor hockey in Fernie as well for select teams. So Fernie is like from us being in northwest side of Calgary, Lake Panorama to Chinook Mall.
Right.
Let's say that's not that far away.
Yeah.
So the distance wasn't too much. And so I played minor hockey in Fernie and so forth. So when I played hockey in Edmonton, that was my first time living outside my house without mom and dad, without mom's cooking, living in the dorm.
Yeah.
And my mom cried so much when they left me for school and stuff. And they're like, oh my God, what are you going to do? You're going to get skinny. I'm like, I'm already skinny, so I can't go anywhere than that. So I know I can see on my dad's face when I left. I can see when he shook my hand or give me he was not a emotional guy. He just gave me a kind of a hug. And I kind of stayed strong. But when I seen the minivan pull away, I was like, okay, on my own now. And I've been kind of living away from parents, if you will, since that time, right? So I played a year of college, like I said, lived in the dorms, and then played pro hockey from 20 to 27. And and life started after hockey, but played in the West Coast Hockey League predominantly most of my years with Tacoma Sabercats, and kind of fell in love with the organization and just everything. Won a championship there, and hockey was good there, and learned lots. Was in the community a lot there, and
you won an award when you were with that team as well, right?
Yeah, I had I played there for 5 years, so I was leading goal scorer, and I did get every year I got most popular player by the fans. So I wasn't a fighter. It wasn't like my personality was out there where you fight and the American fans are just like, oh, this guy's great. I played the game. I was offensive player, if you will. Played in all different capacities. Played all different positions, if you will. But I think, winning that award for me, I didn't realize what it meant, but, fans were out there voting for you because they felt that you were a good person. And I did a lot of being in the community, of going to schools to talk about schooling and talk about how Canada is different than the US. And now we're at this age, you realize Canada and US may be same in some things and some difference. And we won't talk about politics there, but just talk about Canada. And also they all wanted to know where I'm from, because I didn't look like a normal Canadian. So, and I could really package that off and really sell that off in an interesting way. And teachers would be like, that's great. And go to hospitals to talk to terminally ill kids or make visits, go sign autographs, be part of functions with fans and stuff. So I think that I didn't realize doing all that was going to be a kind of a thing that I'm doing now, right? You just did it because
you've been involved in the community for a long time. This isn't just the last few years. This is, I feel, something that has been instilled in you for a very long time, which is great.
Yeah, it all started in Tacoma, where like I said, you need a fan base, so you're in the community, and they pick players that they feel that will bring that fan base to it. But I enjoyed talking to people, and the kids would line up after games to get autographs, and some of our teammates would want to rush off to the clubs and get it going, on a Saturday night. But I would stay back and do that. And I thought it was something that should be the norm. I didn't think I was doing anything spectacular, but and those kind of things that really attach yourself to your personality, to give and to be helpful. And I had a dog named after me. It was kind of weird. Somebody was like, "What, Dampy is sick?" And I'm like, I'm right here. And they're like, "Dampy's really sick, so I have to go home." I'm like, she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." The 16-year-old goes, "I named my dog after you." I'm like, "Oh," or puppy, or he's a puppy. And puppies, when they're smaller, and I guess they need a lot of attention, right? So and then I had a hamster named after me, and so it was kind of weird. I bought a hamster named after you. As this young 8-year-old girl, right? So, and I'm like, and I realized that Dampy's not really good pet name, but if they want to do it, all the power to it. And then I played in the International Hockey League, which was a step lower than the NHL, and that was the highest I went. And really good experience and really good, once again, meeting good people and teammates and so forth. And it was the whole career. I can't ask for anything better. And, you learned lots and developed the person that I am.
So when you were in the International Hockey League, what is like one of your biggest lessons learned from that experience?
Well, in the International League, when it's a step lower than the NHL, you see how fast the game is, how smart the players is. Actually, I felt that it was a little easier to play up there because the players you're playing against are a step faster, better, more knowledgeable, if you will. So you learn a lot, like from the type of hockey that was played on the West Coast. I'm not saying it was worse or anything, but it's a different level and just a different type of professionalism, different quirks you get playing at a higher level, and the pregame meals are all set out for you, and on the road, like you don't have to look for a restaurant; everything's ready in the hotel, and it's just everything's a little step up, right? And imagine. And then talking to some of the players that played in the NHL, they're like, oh, when you go to the NHL, when a player makes to the NHL, it's just a whole different animal. It's just everything's 5-star and everything's proper, and you get everything. And so just to hear stories and just learning that that level of hockey's out there, that was I got to one level lower, and and you start, when you're on the road quite a bit, you start thinking like, how this will affect you when you get older. Are you going to have resentment that you didn't make it or not? But for me, it was more you learn, and then you want to help others, right? And that's basically in the seat that I'm in right now, is that if we have any player that are South Asian from any background that needs any guidance and assistance, and you definitely want to help them and encourage them and inspire them and help them throughout their journey.
So was that kind of like your aha moment, like when you were in the IHL, like thinking, okay, this is definitely, I mean, like I said, you've been involved in the community so much, like since the beginning, but when you were in the IHL, was that kind of like, okay, this is my purpose and this is what I'm trying to do, and now I need to do more of it?
Yeah, I think in Vegas, when I played in the IHL, I played for Las Vegas, and I remember scoring a goal, and they interviewed me between periods. And I can't remember what hockey player came up to me and the way I spoke, and they asked me about the goal, and it was my first goal, so I still have the puck. It's at my parents' house, and they asked me a few questions, and I can't remember back then. And one of the teammates goes to me, he goes, "Hey kid, really good. I heard you on the because they put me on the jumbotron when they did the interview."
Yeah.
He goes, "You spoke really well." He goes, "I know when you get older, when you're in front of the camera, you're gonna be awesome at it." He goes, "You look like that, and you can speak." He goes, "Yeah," and just like, and he goes, "But the way you spoke, and because I probably mentioned my parents, that they would have been happy." And he's like, "Yeah," he goes, "You're gonna do some great things with hockey." And this guy, when you get called up, you don't get to know everybody like hardcore teammates. In Tacoma, everybody, their family, if they're married or not, or single, where they're from, what part of US or Europe or Canada they're from. But here, there's, it's a new team, and you're playing for them. And just the way he said what he said, and it kind of hit me. I'm like, oh, how does he even know what I'm going to be? It's just like he's just read out my future right there, walking by with a orange peel in his hand, and he's ripping out, like it's between periods, right? Just like an unorthodox conversation, and just that little conversation kind of hit me. But there's obviously different experiences. Even when I was younger, I was named team captain when I was 10 years old. I know it doesn't mean too much, but
okay.
I was
that's huge for a 10-year-old.
Yeah, like they're like the captain. I started crying, and I told my dad, because they team captains are usually more vocal in the dressing, but you're 10 years old, and my dad called the coach and said, Dampy doesn't want to be captain, and it was and I was a year younger than some of the kids, and he goes, Coach Ian Horn, I still remember, and he goes, sorry, my dad's name is Ram. He goes, sorry, Ram, he's gonna stay captain. He's going to be a leader when he gets older, and I'm gonna. He deserves to wear the C and become to be our leader. I got on the phone with Ian because we didn't have speaker phones back then. It was a big wire, right? And he goes, and I remember going hi and then sniffling, and he was like, "Don't worry, Dampy, you're always going to be a leader." And he told my dad, and then he told me, he's like, "Yeah, so I'm not taking the C away from you just because you don't want to. You don't have to say anything, but you're a leader." And kind of, those little moments really kind of reside in you. So I had very good mentors when I was, from coaches to players and stuff, and different experiences that kind of built up my personalities.
Tell me about your experience about bringing a hockey team from India to Canada.
Okay, well, yeah, I was part of it. So there's a lot of people involved. Obviously, It's not going to take myself and just Lully. It's took everybody. Right. We went to we did attend the fundraiser that was in Surrey, BC in end of April 2018. Okay. So we went there and we got to see everything, and then we met some hockey players that played for the university or played WHL, East Indian hockey players. They were there. Haley Wickenheiser was there. So we seen like how the story of them being there in January, seeing the girls hockey team, just everything. We absorbed everything, and just like what Lully and I went up to the organizer and said, "Hey, if you need any help, if and when the girls come down, we're more than happy to help." And that was in April. And I get a call in June. I was playing this hockey tournament, ice hockey tournament in the summertime. And I get a call and it was like, "Hey, Dampy, if you want to be part of this, the girls are going to come, but we're going to let you know in October where you fit in. Would you like to do any sessions with the girls?" I'm like, "Sure." And anything that they asked, I'm like, "Yeah, I can." "Oh, what if you go to BC and when the girls arrive there, they're going to be there for 5 hours?" "Yeah, sure." "Okay." I go, "I have flexibility." It's a moment of history that's never going to come back, right? Girls ice hockey team. I have a daughter myself. I have a niece, and I have a lot of friends that have, female athletes from not just hockey. And I thought it was great. And I think it would be a great thing for our family to be part of, right? Because when I found out what capacity. So when we're at that function, I go to Lully. I'm like, "Hey, this is a no-brainer. If we get asked to help out, great. If they say no, then it's up to them, right?" So, but we got the go ahead, and I went to BC to receive the girls at the Vancouver International Airport. So I got to see them come off the plane and walk into the baggage claim, and them looking around, and it was great for me. It was like little young relatives' daughters coming to play hockey, and being out of Indian culture, not just Punjabi culture, Indian culture, seeing how boys are always put forward first, and boys sports, and sons first, and this and that. I was like, I want to be an advocate for girls hockey, especially from India. And they're like, and some of the people are like, "Well, they're not from Punjab. That's where we're from." And I'm like, I don't care. It can be from an island just outside of India. It could be anywhere. I don't care. They respect the Indian flag. They're girls that playing a game that I love to play, and I want to play till I'm 100. I have a daughter that will be inspired, and it's breaking barriers, and that's the biggest thing. And I want to be there, and I want to be part of it, and that's how. And that's how I took it, and I'm glad we got that opportunity, and the people that were involved were awesome at bringing we did a very good setup in BC. They did a very good setup in Calgary. With all the sponsors that helped, and the girls, they got such great positive acceptance here, and needless to say, when they left, it was very emotional. So it was just, the whole experience was awesome, being in Canada with them, and them loving the game, and they loved it and enjoyed it, and we enjoyed it as well. So we did thank them as well.
I think that's super important, like the fact that these women are coming from India, right? And that they're actually athletes and playing the sport. And like, as much as I hate to admit that there's still discrimination, just general with like female athletes and whatnot. And then I'm sure in the hockey world, there's still a lot of discrimination against that. But I love that you and your organization, I see you promoting women all the time in that way, even like from your own kids. When I see your Instagram posts or whatever, like your daughter, she plays, and I'm like, that's amazing. Like, we need more people and more advocates and more fathers even to be encouraging that in their daughters, because why should there be discrimination?
Yeah, well, I think so. And I think there's a stigma in our culture that girls should be put in this kind of situation. And I think and I've always felt that, not even before I had kids. I think I remember hearing, it was in our family maybe, or I can't remember exactly the timeline and all that. I know it was before I had kids, before I was married. And I remember hearing a mom going to the daughter, going, you're not fit enough to play sports. Just let your older brothers play. You just do what you need to do, because later on in life, you're going to be a wife and you need to know A, B, and C. And I remember I'm stepped in. I'm like, well, I live on my own, right? Meaning in hockey, I make food for myself. I do laundry. I wash the dishes. And my mom goes, actually, he does all that here too. Like when he comes back from hockey. So they're like, yes, he goes, I go, my mom gave me all the skills so that when later on that it would be a unified situation to run a household, and then not just the lady doing everything. And so it's just me and my brother and our family, just two boys. We did adopt my first cousin, and then she lived with us for 7 years. But even before that, like, it was kind of ingrained in us to be able to do everything. But I remember stepping in and said, like, you know, why don't you tell your boys to clean up after themselves and stuff? And I kind of stepped in for them, and I go, I don't like that tone that the boys get to have a free ride and the girl's supposed to be like, she's only 15 years old. You're already turning. And I didn't like that. And it just hit me then. And I was only 22 at 22, I think I was. And so I spent 3 years on my own, and I had the confidence to say that. And I said, no, this is not right. And, you know, you're gearing her to be like that, and she wants to play soccer. It was in BC, and now more and more I think about it. So, and so I didn't really take that, and I stepped up kind of for her, but for the reasons, right? But yeah. For me, even my daughter, like we're in Livingston area here, and we get to rent out. It's free, but the ice time for hour and a half, and some of Save Us player friends that are in the area will come out, and my daughter go, can I come too, or is it just the boys? I'm like, oh no, I can make. You got to come out too. So I never kind of hindered her. And it doesn't matter if there's boys on the ice or not. There's certain situations where Save Us teammates will be playing hockey in Glenbrook area, and I'll take them. I'm like, well, you can still come, but there'll be 10 boys out there playing, and, you know, you can work with me. And she'll be like, oh no, I'll be at my house. But that was the only time. But if there's an opportunity to take her for anything sports related or whatever, I'll take her. Even Flames games. I remember I got tickets when I was in real estate. No, it was just before real estate. I got tickets from a client in Los Angeles Kings and Flames, and my son already went to 3 games. So, and it was a school night. It was a Tuesday, and our seats were second from the glass. And I go to save. I'm like, I'm gonna take your daughter, take your sister, and he goes, well, she's gonna fall asleep. I'm like, I know that, but I don't care. So they're nice seats. So she gets, I remember walking down with her, holding her hand, and she had this long ponytail going. She looks back. We're sitting there. I'm like, second row. She's like, Save Us gonna be so jealous. And she was just like, and first period, she liked it, and she's seen the body check. You know, we're right there by the glass. And yet she watched the first period like properly, and the second period, it's almost like, all right. And then, you know, she was, I don't know, this is about 3 years ago. She's only 6 or something. And then she started getting tired, and then, you know, she wanted to sit in my lap. And by the third period started, she was out, and I didn't care. I knew that she was only going to watch a part of the game, even if it was about a minute and a half. I didn't care, but I just wanted her to give her the same opportunity as my son.
I think what I'm gathering from you, based on what you've been saying, is that even your parents, even though they're like a little bit older, like the older generation, they're also about the equal opportunity. It sounds like, if your mom could, you know, support you when you were talking to that other lady about the little girl, right?
I think that set in once we had our daughter, right? I think my mom's still old school in a way, you know, she makes some choice comments about where the boy should be, even, you know, at times. And you can't, you can't fault her for that. It's not like she's doing it in a malicious way. And sometimes things will go come out of her mouth, and she's very like impulsive too, right? So there's no filter sometimes. So it's a good part. You should bring her on a podcast, and you will see her energy level.
Done.
She's not a typical Indian lady, to be honest with you. Like, being around. She said, I raised 3 boys. I'm like, do we have a brother that we don't know about? And she's like, no, your dad, myself, my brothers. So, and my dad's a typical Indian dad, right? Like he's good, like all around the house. That's him, and the house it's mom, right? And he's more helpful now and stuff. But yeah, like. She made some, like I said, it's not, you can't falter for that. They've been raised in that. So, my son loves wrestling and he's got 80 wrestlers. He's got all these rings. So he's so spoiled by the grandparents. They're like, oh, get him this, we'll get him that. And my daughter likes wrestling too. She knows all the male wrestlers and the female wrestlers. So she's about 15 or 20 female wrestlers. And my mom may have mentioned a couple maybe a week ago, like, hey, Sachi, you shouldn't be playing with wrestlers. She's like, Daddy, they're girl wrestlers, right? She's like, yeah, and she's like, no, if my dad said I can play, right? So, it just kind of like, and my mom was like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it, right? Like, she retracted back, but like, there's still that, girls should do this, that. But I think our moms, after seeing like the sons being so involved with their kids and helping with around the house to cleaning and cooking and so forth. So I think they've taken that, I know a lot of my friends, they'll do lots for their kids. Like, they've changed diapers, they've fed, they put them to sleep, read books, right? Which the typical Indian dad really didn't do and didn't have that capacity to do that because they're always working or, and you got to respect that. So, and in every generation, there's an acceptance and there's an exemptions to some rules and bending of rules, if you will, and breaking barriers.
I love that. That's really nicely put. Exceptions and exemptions. Yeah.
So I think that's where, that's where it's really important. And that's where the equality part sets in, right?
Yeah. What is something you would tell your 18-year-old self today, looking back? Like if you were talking to your 18-year-old self, or a piece question. Of advice you'd give to your son or daughter?
Yeah, I think when you're 18, I think even before that, like when you're before the age of 18, because, now that we lived our lives, I'll be 45 this year. So I'm halfway there, if not way past. I don't know. It's just when you hit those years, like 16, like 15 to 18, it's just go after, just really, if it is sports, just keep training. And for that, when it comes to mindset, it's just, have that mindset to be good in school and have that as a priority, because I know college and universities are not all about grades. It's about how much work ethic you put in, right? And I'm talking to certain people in certain generations that things have changed from online school, but it's like just making classes and just making an attempt and just prioritizing the right things. It's good to go out with your friends and have fun, and having also the work conscious of being working somewhere, anywhere. So I would say going back to 18 and just continue to, let's say if you're a sports or an athlete, it's to train and continue to better yourself away. Number 2 is like the schooling part, always be a keen student. Sometimes grades reflect too much, and you got to get into university. So you got to have good grades, but like just the work ethic behind it, the grind behind just being, getting the education. And then, when time permits, finding a place to work where you learn the requirements, what it takes to work, to get up, or, work in different environments. And just another thing that I would say, the 4th thing would be, and just working on your mental toughness and your mental health. And I think mental health meaning just be resilient. There's going to be a lot of people pulling you this way and some people pulling you that way.
Absolutely.
And, you get that, and you get a group of 20 people at the age of 18. Now, I think you and I can both agree that, you still have some toxic people kicking around even at this age, right? There's some jealousy. There's like people that don't want you to succeed, but even at this age, I'm 45 and I hear it. I see it. I hear it through other people, and it's not that people bring it to attention though. And it's sometimes when you're in the public eye, like myself now, and what I was doing with hockey and APNA Hockey, you see the negativity of different people, and it's apparent out there. But at the age of 18, it's more, it can mold you. Right. If you're with too much, that's where you're most influential. Now, if somebody goes to me, oh, APNA Hockey is like this or that, I'm like, anyways, you just turn your face the other way and walk. Yeah. You go ahead. You're more professional about things, more mature about things. But when you're younger, that's where things can mold you. Go with the right people. And if you want to be an athlete, or you want to be an engineer, or you want to work as a firefighter or a police officer or a nurse, and there's a lot of stigma for firefighting, like, oh, it's a dangerous job. But I think, I have applied in the past, and I've torn my ACLs on both knees, so that inhibited that. So, but like I want to be the first Punjabi person to make into firefighting and acknowledge because we have policemen and police women that are Indian, that are in RCMP in the police force. Right. So, but in firefighting, and I went to different fire halls, and there's none in Calgary. So I wanted to be the first, just to kind of pathway, right, and tell them what the positives are. You're not making $200,000, but you're helping the community and so forth, and you're an icon and you're a positive role model. So I think, shifting it when you're kids, telling the kids, what do you really want to do? What's your really mindset? And just really being positive with them so that they make the right choices when they get older.
And I think that's like super important, like in the South Asian culture especially, is that we don't, like I just talked about this on my last podcast, but I didn't have any role models outside of like the conventional path, like the doctors, the dentists, the lawyers, the professionals. And so when I chose to do something different, it was kind of like, okay, you're the black swan now of the family, and like, what are you really doing? And there's been a lot of skepticism and whatnot, but luckily for me, I had supportive parents. I mean, they were still confused, but they were like, okay, do you, right? And I think it's super important that we're changing that mindset and the barriers, especially with like our generation and future generations, that it's okay to do things for yourself, and that's for the greater good. And that's what this series is basically highlighting, is that it's great to do.
It makes sense. Well, like when I was playing hockey, a lot of parents, my parents kind of kept it quiet that I was making money, right? It wasn't like you're making $1 million and I was driving around a high-end car or bought 3 houses, right? It wasn't like that. It was just, I was doing something, first of all, I love to do, is to play. And if I was getting paid to play, then great. But my parents would hear it from other parents, like, oh, why you put him in hockey? And then they would keep it silent, keep it humble that I was making money. And I remember going to a friend's house, and his brother was there, his sister was there, and dad was there. And they're like, oh, you're going to play hockey again? Like, yeah. He goes, you're just doing it for fun? I go, no, I've been getting paid for about 3-4 years. And their whole place went quiet, right? And it's like, oh, okay, then that's good. Oh yeah, then that's good, right?
Then it's like, okay.
Then it's fine. And I think successes are really measured in happiness. And, yes, you'll make, money is there. And I think our cultures are too fixated with that. Like, oh, you need to make money to be successful. You need to be earning 6 figures plus, and you need to be driving this and that. But for me, the biggest happiness is when I see a smile on somebody's face, a girl, boy's face, when you're helping them or the families, and, doing these clothing drives and going to like Mustard Seed and seeing their faces light up like, this is great. Your community is doing really good. And it's not just, I love when they say your community. It's not Dampy. It's somebody helping spearheaded, but getting the right people to help you. And going back to when you're 18, you don't need 20 friends. It's great to have 20 positive friends. It is, having 20, because I've been in a hockey team, and it's wicked to have 25 guys cheering when you win a championship, right? That's the best part about it. But if it's 20 friends that are positive, great, but you don't need that many. We did a clothing drive. We had about 7-8 volunteers, and we're all dialed in, and it was so much fun. I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing, because that's inspirational. You probably don't know how many people that you inspired, the girls especially, that are going to look up to you and going, that's wicked. She's doing this, and the way you do it. And I think it's important that for people to realize that there's different avenues of happiness, and it doesn't have to be the bank account all the time.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Right.
Let's talk about APNA Hockey for a bit. So you're a co-founder of this organization.
Yep.
And tell us more about that.
So APNA Hockey was started by COUTURE in Edmonton. Lolly is about 15, 16 years younger than me. So he had a different experience in hockey. So I got to play pro hockey. I did face racial discrimination at times. I went through different experiences that were racially based. And he felt that in his era, obviously, like I said, he's I believe he's 16 years younger than me. And he felt that his steps to make it at a higher level was stopped because of racial discrimination. Like he felt that was a pinnacle point, and he didn't have a role model, and he didn't know about me. You know, he didn't have any guidance or assistance, and I didn't either. Like, to be honest with you, I really didn't have anybody either. And so he started APNA Hockey. So he quit the route of trying to get anywhere in hockey. So what he did was he started APNA Hockey as a way to assist players. So first thing he started doing on his Instagram handle was showcasing players that are playing in prominent levels, you know, alumni and so forth. So I went through his Instagram handle after seeing posts of not only male and female and in South Asian, not just Punjabi players, right? We're both Punjabi and, you know, Sikh faith, but for us, it was, you know, seeing players from different backgrounds. And then on his Instagram handle was his number, and I'm not afraid to pick up the phone and call. So I texted him and I just, hey, Lali, I love what you're doing. I've been following your page. And I was doing real estate back then. So I just got into the Instagram world, right? Just getting into it, knowing I finally knew what a bio was and all that kind of stuff. And I was right in there. And I would say from the time I messaged him, I didn't say, hey, I want to join or, you know, so forth. I introduced myself. And I'm going to say, and I talk about this all the time, about 24 seconds later from the message that I sent to his text or his phone, he called me. And I see my phone says Lolly Tour. I'm like, oh, either he's ticked off or he's mad, right? So I didn't know anything. He calls me. He's like, hey, Damps. He doesn't even call me Damp. He goes, Damps, right? And I'm like, that's what good friends call me. Like, yeah. And he goes, how you doing? I've been meaning to call you for the last go. And then he just went on tangent. And all I heard was, right? And he goes, I know hockey guys. I know you. I know they told me to call you, but I was a little intimidated. And then we agreed to meet in Red Deer. And I'm like, you come to Red Deer and I'll come to Red Deer and we'll talk. And he goes, I really want you to be part of this. I need somebody like you, and we can blow this out of the water if we by showcasing our Indian talent. And that's all we thought about is just, and then when he found out that I was doing hockey, like before APNA Hockey, before I joined, I was doing like on ice development for kids, right? And I was doing it for fun. I was only charging $5, and I just wanted to go up. Yeah. And now things have changed, right? So, but anyways, it was fun. It was good talking to him, just learning about what he went through, a lot of similarities, some differences, right? Of different experiences and stuff. But he really, really showed me a lot of respect. And he goes, I looked you up. A lot of people know about you. And I play a lot of ball hockey in Edmonton. So all this community knows about me. And so it was a positive. And who would have thought from the meeting in Red Deer to winning an NHL award? I know my name's on the trophy, but it's a joint effort. It's a group effort. It's not just, you know, the parents obviously putting us in hockey and supporting us what we are doing to, you know, my wife and kids and everything, and my parents, his brother and sister and everybody. So it was a joint effort, and all these volunteers that come out to help out. So we didn't know that this was going to come to winning an NHL award. So that's how APNA Hockey started. And I started doing some on-ice development here. So I do on-ice development. We still are showcasing anybody that's involved in hockey, right? And even sport in general. Like if we see a soccer play at a young age that is South Asian that gets selected or gets to play pro, we highlight that. We want to inspire people in the name of hockey and sport. And so a lot of things, we attend different webinars, workshops, diversity in hockey, or just being part of it. And later on today, we'll be talking to Bob Sandy, who's part of Hockey Canada. He wears a turban, he's got a beard, and something unorthodox for, but this day and age, yeah, and it's awesome. I know for me personally, I still get a lot of parents talking about the racial stuff that goes on in hockey and some of the things that people are saying and how their kids get restricted. So that still is prevalent now. And I've spoken up to a few different situations that have happened recently, or obviously because of COVID, hockey's kind of on a standstill right now, but listening to parents and a lot of things, the racial part is still there. The stigma of like East Indians not excelling in hockey is there, but and I think we're there. We're helping our junior hockey players, not just finding places to play, but more importantly, they're being there to guide them and assist them and stuff. So APNA Hockey is in different realms, and we want to be a voice for our community and continue to work with different organizations, agencies to grow the game as well, right? And I think the NHL has to realize that the game needs to be kind of include everybody. So and it's hard for them to see that sometimes, but we're here once the time comes if they needed to have a conversation about, and we're working on that as well, right? We can't be highlighting everything that we're doing, but we do feel that the NHL needs to kind of allow some more diversity in the game of hockey with the right people, not just he's East Indian, he should be making it because of the diversity, but the right people and giving that opportunity. It's just giving somebody a chance, right? So
absolutely, I think you guys are trailblazers in that, and I think it's a wonderful thing that you guys are doing and like speaking up on.
We're also working on trying to get an Olympic ice hockey team from India. And
oh my God. Okay.
So we do have a database of players. Now, are we going to use the players from India? It's going to be hard because they have to hit a certain level, but if they're Indo-Canadian, right? Have some lineage back in India, we can have a very strong team. And a lot of people don't realize, like, the Olympic teams such as Team Canada, US, Sweden, Finland, Russia, Czech, and Slovakia, they're like the top tier. And then there's a Division 1 below that with a bunch of countries. And then there's a Division 2, and then there's a Division 3. So the top division doesn't have a name. It's just the top, right? Like Canada, US, and all that. Then there's another division, and then there's a second and a third one. And I was talking to one of the people, they live out of Chestermere, and they're played from the Lebanese ice hockey team. And he goes, the amount of good players you guys have in your community, you guys can easily be in the second tier, right, of that, and slowly move up to the first tier. And the first tier is below the main, the other countries. So, and Lali and I are trying to, we'll need the public support or businesses or somebody that is willing to invest in this. Is that the next Olympics, we would love the Olympic Committee to see that India would be part of it. And it doesn't have to be with like I say, the top team, but even be part of the association, the federation rather, the WIHF federation. Because we do have players that are playing in American Hockey League, playing in Europe, and they have great hockey skills. And like I said, talking to one of the players that played for Lebanon, he's like, I will tell you right now, you guys would be very, very competitive. And it's good to hear that, because they played in those tournaments and slowly move our way up to a certain level where, you have a chance to play. And it'll take some time. It's not going to be overnight, but that's something that we really, really think that it's doable, but the support needs to be made, done, and hopefully we get some traction on that. So
that's amazing.
Now we have partnerships with Rogers Communications. We have partnerships with Bauer. Rogers Communications is that each player gets $150 for their hockey expenses. Some of the parents that don't need it have been donating the money to different to other families that need it, which is awesome. So it's a pay it forward situation, but the biggest thing is Rogers is giving the opportunity of kids to do Zoom calls as a group with like players in the NHL, like John Tavares, the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So it's a live Zoom call.
That's amazing.
Next one is on February 4th, where Reeves from Las Vegas Golden Knights and Darnell Nurse from the Edmonton Oilers will speak to the players as well. Okay. So they'll get that. And I do think, and I'm not jumping ahead, I think Connor McDavid will make an appearance too, because he's endorsing the program. So we're doing that with Rogers. We have 50 players from APNA Hockey, or APNA Hockey has reached out to 50 players, male and female. I believe we have 22 girls part of this program.
Amazing.
part of it. And then we have Bauer, and I think you may have seen me distributing some hockey equipment. So Bauer and us have a partnership where we want to grow the game, and so we're giving to families that need hockey equipment because maybe finances and so forth, or to grow the game by giving young 3-4-year-olds hockey equipment so they can start their journey in hockey. And then obviously players that continue playing that need the equipment or want the equipment to continue to play. So Bauer has been very, very generous, and they gave us 800 pieces of equipment, which we've distributed 600 in Alberta, 100 in BC, and 100 in Ontario. So those are some of the ventures we're working on right now, and it's been pretty good. So,
and a lot of good support there too.
Yeah, the community's been really good. To be honest with you, like, to win the award, you needed the votes and so forth, and I didn't know where I would stand because one of the finalists has a backing of the Washington Capitals. One of the other finalists would have the backing of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Oh, wow.
So when people read that, they're like, "Oh, good luck, right? Do you have any backing with the Flames?" I'm like, "No, I don't." I know Matt Stajan tweeted, and I appreciate that, and but nobody reached out, like in the Flames organization, say, "Hey, I know you're a finalist," and so forth. Not saying that I was expecting it, but both of the other finalists have the backing of the Washington Capitals. The Capitals owner actually put on LinkedIn, like, vote for her. So I was like, and I looked at myself in the mirror like, hey, good luck, right? But to be able to win it and face game, when I say you're competing against them, but then I had an opportunity to speak to John Hafferman and Alexander Briggs-Blake. I got to see, I've talked to Michael Watson, who's the associate by John Hafferman, and they all want to work together with us, each other. So,
so networking,
you compete, to get the votes, but you realize you're all doing the same thing. So I made it a point that as we move forward, that we should do things together and wherever we can help each other. So I told them it was a joint victory. Like, we're all in it together. We're all there for the right reasons. It's not that I'm better than not. And like I said, the voting situation was really, uplifting for me because of the support I got from not only in Canada, but across Canada, but Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, even in the States. Thank you. And even in India, all my family members were glued to their phones and making sure they voted. And my mother-in-law called people in Germany or, Europe. Yeah. So I think if they had the algorithms or a program that to see where I got all the votes from, they would say it was all over kind of the world. I have a niece living in Australia. She texted me and said, or messaged me on Instagram, saying, I'm getting all my friends to vote. So, I think one thing is to get the votes in, but it's easy to nowadays, if somebody were to be like, this person's in the public eye, first thing you do is Google their name. Right. And if people Googled my name and liked what they saw, then it's a win for our hockey community here in Calgary and myself. But I'm glad that how it all worked out. Like I said, I didn't have any aspiration. I didn't think that this would come, to win an NHL award. But now that it's here, it's because of the support system that you get. Right.
So when was the moment you understood the impact you had in the world of hockey, but also in the community? Or have you had that moment yet?
It's hard. Like, I just think I'm just, and when I say this, like a regular person just doing what I'm doing, I think, I'll be honest with you, I was about 12 years old. That was my son's age, where I had a mindset, and I know I've talked about this in different podcasts, that I want to make an impact in hockey. And one was to try to make it to the NHL. But for me, honestly, my wife doesn't like when I say this, is that she said, you should always make the NHL. Like, you should have that mindset just to go to the NHL. But I told myself, I want to get to as highest level of hockey as possible and respect that. And then one day give back. So I think the aha moment, or the start of that moment, started, the whole start of everything was when I was 12. And I don't know why 12. I think I had some tough years of hockey. I was a superstar before that. Then I played AAA hockey where I wasn't the superstar. And then the next year I was normal, if you will. And then the year after that, I picked it up again. And, but I think 12 was where it was like a test for me. And I was like, I want to to do what I want to do, and I want to be able to later on in life, and also and help out the kids and so forth and families. And also as a scrawny little kid, not saying that I'm anything different now, but like I've always focused on my physique, and I also told myself I want to help in hockey, but I want to have the ability to have a decent physique where I can help, you know, friends and, you know, kids and so forth. And I think that's a big thing when you're trying to be a leader. And, you know, even at this age, you know, if you're look a certain way, and it's not just facial features or anything, if you're physically fit, and I see different coaches that are physically fit, and, you know, it goes further, and especially this generation. But if you're not, then, you know, sometimes, you know, you can't practice what you preach. But yeah, that's where it all started. And I think when I got to the IHL, I think the aha moment went there, like, oh, I got there at a certain level, which, you know, you never think about, right? So I did have the Columbus Blue Jackets of the NHL come down, and they scouted, and it was in the front page of the Tacoma Tribune, which is the newspaper, and said Columbus Blue Jackets have talked to Dampy Brar and another player, Trevor Roenick. And it was nice to have your name in the same sentence of an NHL team, right? So, and now as I move forward, and even in winning this award, and, you know, I was top 20 compelling Calgarians, and I got a lot of praise for that. And it's like, where do you put everything? You know, how do you absorb everything? And I think, yes, we've made an impact in hockey by starting APNA Hockey and giving back to the communities. I don't think the aha moment 100% will be there. I think you continue to keep building, keep finding different ways to give back to the community through the hockey world or the sport world.
I really admire how much of a family man you are as well. You've got, it sounds like it shows from your profiles and like social and what I know of you, but also the way you've been talking, and you're so humble, and it sounds like you have a really good support system. I'm going to shift the gears a little bit, and I'm going to bring up the farmers' protest.
Right.
And let's talk about that, and let's talk about the impact that that's had on you and your family, and let's bring more awareness about this, because
Absolutely. Yeah. I think for, you know, when I talked to my dad, I think it had to be probably in October, November, and even before that, but it really hit me when he talked about it, because the laws were introduced, and he kind of explained to me in his words how this would impact. And I was like, oh, Dad, that's not good, right? And he's like, no, this is not good. You know, our whole family, you know, I have 23 first cousins, right? So from my mom's side and my dad's side, but regardless of all that, like, families are built on farming. And he goes, honestly, my dad goes, the reason why we came to Canada, we had the money to come to Canada, or the means and the resources, because we're farmers. You know, if you're a non-farmer, the chance that you come to Canada in the 1970s or the late 60s was none. You couldn't make it. You didn't have the money or the resources. And so he goes, I left, and my older brothers basically said, don't fail, right? And work hard. So, and my dad would work in the farms as well. Like, he was like, you know, I wasn't babied too much. And so when I came to Canada, working in mills and coal mines wasn't hard, because I got to work in the farms. So I think a lot of guys that are my friends are Punjabi or non-Punjabi, like that, come from Punjab. The parents came in the late 60s or mid 60s to 70s. And we're given the same kind of philosophies of work ethic, right? Because, you know, in order to have a successful farming situation, doesn't matter how many acres of land you have to put some effort into it. And yes, there's, you know, nowadays there's workers in the fields. It's a system, right? So, you know, the landowners are landowners, but they still have to keep track of everything, and they help out when they come. So, you know, it's, if your landlord, life is a little bit easier, but like, you're also helping other people in other families, right? We've had the same workers in our family, and it's generation and generations. And, you know, our family helps out with their weddings and the cost and all that kind of stuff, but it becomes a bigger family, if you will, right? And it's just how India is made and built in Punjab, right? So, but like, the work ethic that my dad and his brothers and all put together. And then when he came to Canada, my dad never looked back. He never had to be like, oh, I didn't succeed in this. And that parlays into kind of my work ethic in hockey. I know you have to put your body on the line to play hockey. And even now I play a lot of ball hockey, and it's not easy to play against 24, 23-year-olds. So you learn that from different generations of school of thought. And now I get to give back to my kids. And so, with the farmers protest, just seeing what they're dealing with right now and coming together, and it's so wonderful in the fact that they're coming together and they're fighting for the laws to be revoked and so forth. And if you look at the situations, like, the government really has to see what they're doing, right? And like the Sikhs, like, it becomes, a lot of people like, it's the farmers against the government and the laws, but it's not. Like, let's be honest, right? Like the Sikhs have been oppressed for a long time. We had in 1984 with, I was only 8 years old, so I read 3 books on Operation Blue Star and all that. And yes, there's political situation that happened, but at the end of the day, a generation of young youth were killed off, and a lot of people don't know about that. And now with social media, there's more awareness. I have a lot of hockey parents calling me, even texting me like, "Oh, Dampy, I'm sorry to hear what's happening in India." You can go jump on and Google like what the 3 laws, how it would affect them and stuff. And I want to thank a lot of the people that are non-Sikh, non-Indian, that are supporting this and or aware of this. And I just had a text message earlier today, and it's crazy. I stayed up till 4:00 watching some footage on Instagram and YouTube and stuff, and it is affecting a lot of families here. My parents, I think my mom calls and she's bawling on the phone all the time because, they were built on farming and so forth. And she feels, we're living a great life here. Let's be honest, right? Yeah. My parents are living a great life, and they just feel it for the farmers that have 2 acres of land and 3 acres of land. And a lot of people around the world don't know how many suicides that go on, because, the male, if the male can't provide for the family, and he feels this is the only way out, so they off themselves. And there's a lot of suicides that have happened, and it's not being publicly. Yes, it's, if you know what's going on, you're putting it on your Instagram and stuff, but like the public doesn't know. And a lot of, like, the government is bringing a lot of alcohol and drugs into Punjab, right, to decimate the youth that are, just, let's say, sitting idle, right, because they're landowners and other people are working. And I know that. And I went to India, and I actually ended up talking to a few people and saying that, well, this has been going on for like 10, 15 years of the drugs and the alcohol being brought in, and not putting a stop to that. And it's the government trying to do whatever they can to get the Sikhs at a level where they can be taken control of, right? But and we all know, we appreciate the Alberta farmers, the Saskatchewan farmers, Manitoba, like anybody that farms across the world, you got to give them a thumbs up. You got to respect that. My dad even now has a garden, but in Sparwood, I remember having a garden in Sparwood, and him bringing in fresh carrots and onions and peas and all that. And him and my mom and my dad would fight all the time. Like, it's not, she'd like, go grab some of carrots. My dad's, they're not ready yet. Like, they're not, like, yeah, they are. Like, go to that side. And how the Indian dads back in Sparwood, even now, how they take care of their farms, because they don't want that piece to leave them. So in hindsight, it's a sad situation. I hope that the government gets to see that. And I hope that people that, let's say, on this podcast and further podcast or any information they get, they really see that, there's a lot of families that will get affected by this, right? If the laws keep going. And it's a business venture for the two people in question. And, for the Prime Minister to tweet about other countries and what they're going through and not really care. If as an APNA Hockey member, and if I see there's a program in Tampa Bay or somewhere in Boston or whatever in the US doing well, or suffering, you'd help them, right? That's if there's another Indian hockey program, let's say in Boston, Massachusetts, and there's 3 kids that started this program, and it's like APNA Hockey, and they go through some rough things, I'm going to reach out to them and so forth. And, that's your people. That's, you never met them before, but you want to support them. And, but for the Prime Minister to sit idle and he's creating a big segregation. And most of the government is non-Sikh, and if you know what I mean, and they're from the Hindu religion, and some of the Hindu people are helping Punjabis, right? It's not like that, but they're creating a big segregation between them, and like calling Sikhs, terrorists and stuff. Like, really, really think about the Khalsa Aid just won an unbelievable award, and you're calling them a terrorist group. And that's where you gotta, like, that's where the humanity side, and we talked about it earlier, like the humility of that. It's just, you can't do that, and you know what, and it affects our generation kids too, because my kids aren't oblivious, right? And they hear things, and I don't want to shield them either, right?
No.
So, and but yeah, so that whole protest, like I said, I watched it till 4:00, and it was it's hard to watch at times, but you just kind of sit there and kind of take it all in and hope for the best.
So how do we show support for this? And
it just right now, like, only thing I can do is go on social media. When I say this, I'm not saying this to act like a tough guy or anything, but I know a few of my friends talked about going to India.
Oh yeah.
And being Canadians and going there with their phones and really highlighting, and obviously people know who I am in Calgary, like, a lot of people, and I was just thinking to my head, is just getting off the plane and going there and saying, hey guys, this is what's happening, this is the suppression, this is what's the negative part, like, for people to see that. But I have two other friends, we thought about it, and obviously, we have family, and there's this chance of certain situations you can get targeted, and it is India at the end of the day. But the only thing we can do is on social media is awareness, and if somebody text messages, just be professional about it, and so forth. And a lot of, like, people that are non-Indian they're talking about the segregation in the community, right? And how it's being created. A lot of people are finding information and not just going about what we're putting on Instagram. And they're saying that, well, the Sikh faith has been going through that, and like I said, it is the farmers. We have farmers from different parts of India that are not Sikh that are also affected by that. So, they're coming together, and the media doesn't show all that kind of stuff. So It's not just the Sikhs, it's all the other farmers that are being affected by that. And, but if the government should really think about what they're, doing in Punjab, where majority of the people are Sikh, right? And, as a parent, if your kid is funny and comical and witty, probably gets it from one of the parents, right? If the kid is swearing and negative, probably gets it from the parents. So the example of that is the top up. If your government is corrupt and your government has a certain agenda, and government is not fair, you're going to see that, and you're seeing it. So it's a trickle down effect, and certain things that my kid follows me, and I do certain things that he shouldn't be following me if I accidentally stub my toe and throw the F-bomb. But like, the government is really showing their true colors right now, and it's really sad to see that. And awareness, for other people, is just only thing you can do is show awareness and support. That's all you can do, and learn the details, because I know, I've seen turmoil in other countries. Yeah. And sometimes they're flipping the channel. You're like, oh, okay, whatever. But now it's happening in our country, and you don't want other people to just turn the channel or just skip through it. So
it's a humanity issue, I think, at the end of the day. I don't, it's bigger than what media has it. And what's interesting is that now there are a lot of phones on the ground. So, you're getting a little bit more of the raw footage of what's really happening. And when I started looking into it, I was like, I had no words. I was speechless.
Well, the internet, they're turning off the internet, right? And and now the encouragement is to make videos, right? You can turn off the internet, but you can still make videos and post later. And like the government, the media, like, it's crazy. Like, they're also causing a lot of segregation and separation, and I feel bad, honestly, for the police officers that are involved, because I'm pretty sure if you were to go one-on-one with them, and say, are you glad to be there? They're going to be like, no, right? Like they're scared. And you see that, and they're only there because they have a duty to do and a job to do. And you understand that. But yeah, like it's just a bad situation there. And, you know, but the thing is, it all comes down to how we're having this podcast. We're sharing ideas, we're talking about, you know, our experiences. I think when your kid is like 5 years old, we are saying, hey, use your words, don't cry, don't whine, use your words, explain something to me. Here, have a seat with me, sit on my lap. That's something you're taught when you're almost 3 to 4 years old. And if the prime minister can't sit down with the farmers and talk in a rational manner and have the right people talk, that shows your character. Like,
absolutely,
you know, like, yeah, like you can hide away and hire your own people to talk, but you know, to put forward these 3 laws without consulting with anybody, it's like my kids coming in from school and say, yeah, okay, you're not allowed to eat any snacks when you come in till 7 o'clock. You can't have dinner till 10, and you have to be in bed by 10:15, like making unrealistic laws. Oh, you know, and I can see my kids go, well, why don't you talk to us about it? And it's just like a simple concept. Why don't you talk to farmers, like how it may help, or how can we tweak it, and how can it benefit? Why put the laws behind somebody's back and expect them to abide? So, you know, this is something, Modi has a lot of education under his belt, right? And I've seen that, and you know, you got to respect that somebody's put, but it doesn't take education to be able to talk to people. It doesn't take education to have a heart for other people when they are suffering. So you can throw all that stuff aside, and if you don't have that, you don't need education for that. You just need to be a human being, and he can probably say that, you know, I'm forced to do this, or I'm influenced to do that, but don't be prime minister then. You know, you can't be a leader if you can't step up. And you know, he's going, you know, I see different posts from people that favor Modi, and they talk about his education and what he's at. You can have a 3-year-old son, daughter, sit on your lap, and you can have a one-on-one conversation with them. If Modi doesn't see that, then he shouldn't be in power, right?
But I think that's it.
I think we're good.
A lot of your time.
It's all good, no problem. It's fun. This was good. This was fun. You got.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's good topics and stuff. And
is there anything else you want to add that we didn't cover?
Oh, just if anybody needed any assistance with hockey, or knowledge how to put their kids in hockey, anything about when to start skating, any programs. Not only do that, I run a program, but I can forward or relate any information for them to use in the future for their kids. If they wanted to learn how to power skate or so forth, I can help them with that. Some people that are playing serious hockey, if there's, you know, they want to put their kids on hockey treadmills or anything, shooting lessons, definitely I can relay the information where they can get that. So, you know, I want the parents to feel free to call me at any time to get the information, and if I can help them and be on the ice with them, great. If I can, and if there's other avenues of help, then we'll definitely do that.
Absolutely, sounds good. I also wanted to shout out your wife, because I remember when she won Miss Calgary years ago, and I remember hearing about that and seeing like her photos on TV and everything, and she was like the brown girl that every brown girl wanted to be. So I just wanted to shout her out.
Yeah, that was in 2001, and I was kind of talking to her when I was playing hockey in Tacoma, because we started talking because her younger sister is married to my best friend from Sparwood, right?
Oh,
that's
really?
How we got.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was just talking to her, and she's like, well, I might do Miss Calgary. I'm like, oh, why wouldn't you? Like, you have to, right? Yeah. And then I get a phone call from her friend saying she won, and I was sleeping. It was like, and I was an hour behind, but for some reason I was sleeping early, and I'm like, I have no clue who this is, but congratulations. She's like, no, we call her Geep one. I'm like, oh, well, the Miss Calgary. Yeah. So I briefly talked to her. I think I did briefly talk to her, it was great because she was the first visible minority to win that.
Exactly, yeah.
And you know, once again, breaking barriers. And her biggest support, you know, obviously her parents were both there, but the dad wasn't like the typical Indian dad. He wasn't like, no, you can't do that. So that's very admirable and inspirational for me to learn that too back then, is like the dad was really supportive of that. Usually the Indian dad is like, you're going to be wearing what? You're going to be doing this? You're going to be in front of who? Right? So, but the dad was like, no, I want you to, you know, do what you want to do. And so it's great to see her win it. And then I got to see her, she was runner up for Miss Canada in the summertime. I believe it was in July or August. So I got to go see that competition and that pageant. So it's great. Like I said, it's good. And the different people are making marks in different times and different industries, like yourself, like through the beauty stuff and from the podcast. So, you know, I think our culture is now moving away from, you know, the stigma of doing this and that. Yeah. So it's great. And I'm glad you mentioned that. And I'll talk to her. And she's very humble about it. She's like, so definitely. So
yeah. No, that's awesome. Your whole family seems like trailblazers. So it's a good.
You attract people that, you know, are kind of have the same mindset, right? So, like I said, I was only 23, I think, when I got to speak to her. Like I got to talk to her before about what she was all about and stuff. And that's where we kind of, the ignition of dating started. And I seen her and seen that she talked highly about her dad being very, you know, save out oriented, meaning to help. Yeah. And we named our kids Seva after that, right? Yeah. And she found out how I was in the community, and she got to when we were dating, she got to spend some time in Tacoma and to come to the games and got to experience the fans there and talking to different people, and she got to see how it was to be a hockey girlfriend, you know.
I think it makes a huge difference when you have that kind of support. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, she nominated me for the award, right? And
they took her.
Yeah. So, and Rico Phillips, who was the past winner out of Flint, Michigan, his wife nominated him. The NHL, they're like, oh yeah, that's what we want to see, is somebody that's close to the person. I'm like, oh, okay. I just didn't want it to be, you know, skewed or biased and all that. No, but yeah, your partner is your biggest support system. But when I found out that Rico Phillips' wife nominated and so forth, but I had I sent out the nomination to 10 different people, and all outside of my family that really knows me. She was the only inside of the family that knew me. And they're not, as per the NHL, they were saying that their nominations were really good too. So, but we took your wives because it would be more special. But the other nominations were great too. They thought it was really highlighted what you did and your personality. And so I was we had people from outside of Calgary that I sent the nomination to. I believe I sent it to, with my wife, 9 other people, so 10 people. Okay. And she was the only, I think there was only 2 or 3 Calgarians that I used, right? And they were not my family members, and it was good to see that the NHL was like, wow, when we read him, we got to get this guy, you know, in the top 20, and you know, and all worked out pretty well. So
that's awesome. Thank you so much for being
here problem.
Today. I appreciate all your time, and it was great learning more about you from you rather than reading about you. But yeah, no, I wish you all the best. I think you're doing wonderful things with APNA Hockey, and however I can support, please let me know.
Sure. That's good to be on here because, you know, you got the Ismaili, you know, the crew that will be following you, and different people from different backgrounds. And like I wanted to highlight to anybody is that it's not just being given back to the Punjabi community, because I've been part of the Ismaili ball hockey.
100%.
You know, like
we're just a brown community at the end of the day. Not Ismaili, Punjabi, whatever. We're all brown.